now that I can sort of knit again a bit more, I'm going to get on with it. That's obviously the universal symbol
for knitting.
This is a pudding that really is not for anyone that's currently doing Slimming World.
And we won't even start on tomato ketchup on spaghetti bolognese.
Oh, don't even go there. I'm going to resist nicking the spatula just because A, it'll be boiling hot, and B, that's just naughty. Do you know how I said I wasn't going to lick the spatula? Guess who just did? I'm saying nothing. You mostly were. You found your needle.
No, I was just gesticulating.
So this is... Quite honestly, I could just eat this straight from the pan, but that would be bad. Can you try and stop at a more convenient point?
Yes, I do apologise. I do apologise.
I see a cow. There's its mouth. There's its mouth down there.
Right.
There's its two eyes. There's its ears, and there's its horns.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 134.
Yes.
And what a show we have in store for you. Now, we've got the finale, the grand finale of this season of the Bakery Bears Pudding Club.
We do.
Now, I know that's slightly sad because it's the last one in the season, but it's not. It's really happy because this is a pudding which, after eating it, made me smile and giggle like a lunatic.
Probably down to the amount of sugar, but you know.
And I'm not joking here either.
We all have to have little treats now and again, don't we?
We do. We most certainly do. And not only that, not only do we have the finale of this season's Pudding Club, but we also have the sort of grand unveiling, even though it did come out last Friday, of the latest Swish and Flick collective pattern.
Yes.
My goodness.
Number 5. So this is from the Order of the Phoenix. Yes, I'm sure it's that book. I kind of get the last few books mixed up.
I get all the books mixed up.
Do you get all the books mixed up?
I do.
I'm okay with the first 4, and then I kind of can't remember. I know the Deathly Hallows is the last one, but 5 and 6 I always get mixed up.
Yeah.
I couldn't even tell you what the one is after the Order of the Phoenix. You see, I get confused.
No.
Yes.
Oh.
It is, well done. Right, I might have it finally in my head. So yes, 5th pattern. It's inspired by a character that, do you know, I ummed and ahed about using this particular character for inspiration because she's not very well liked, but she's pivotal in that particular book.
Yeah, and you came to the conclusion that people love to not like her.
Yeah, and I think, you know, she's played incredibly well in the film.
Yes.
And, you know, she's a brilliant character, whether that be a good character or a bad character. She's still a brilliant character. So I will show you that in what's off my needles.
Woohoo. But to top all of that, Neil, folks, let me tell you, we see it as our job to bring you the answers to some of life's pivotal questions. Oh, yes. And today we have the answer to the question which I know we've all pondered. How much do 10 digestive biscuits weigh?
I could tell you right now, actually.
But don't spoil it.
Okay.
That's all to come later on in the show. Yes. I bet you didn't expect to find that out this episode.
No.
Oh, no.
No, absolutely.
That's right up there with the time that you decided to work out how much was a portion of tomato ketchup.
Oh, do you know? It really annoys me where you have a product and on it'll say 30 servings or something, won't it? And I said, how do they judge that? How do they decide what a suitable serving of tomato ketchup is?
So out came the calculator?
So I did. I worked it out. I sat there.
Right. Get the scales.
I did.
Zeroise them.
I did. So I measured it out and I said,
Squirt.
Right, that's how much they're saying a portion is.
And I do recall it was quite...
I don't think it was very much.
Right. So did we work out we normally have 2 portions?
I don't know. I mean, to be honest, we don't have tomato ketchup that often.
We should gauge how long it lasts us. And we won't even start on tomato ketchup on spaghetti bolognese.
Oh, don't even go there. You're an absolute Philistine.
I'm a heathen.
Yes.
Neil, my question to you is, have you listened to the Bakery Bears radio show?
Oh, I hope so.
If you haven't, please come and join us, because we're absolutely loving being with you every week.
Every other week. Oh, sorry. Yes. Right. I thought you meant on the radio show.
No.
Right.
No.
Okay.
Now, because of the radio show, we are with you every week. And I absolutely loved last episode.
Yeah,
In
it's
fact,
great.
we've been loving the whole sort of process of, because it's very different to putting out a video show.
Very different. Yeah.
And, learning a lot, but also it's making us sort of think in different ways just because of, the way that we structure the show. Because the show's got nothing to do with knitting.
No.
And everything to do with sort of pondering some of life's big questions.
Yeah.
Like, we should do an episode on how much does a digestive biscuit weigh?
I guess, they don't weigh as much as they used to, because it's like everything's smaller, isn't it, these days?
Yeah, and it's sort of poor.
It's like a wagon wheel.
It's just poor the way they justify it, because the way that all these companies justify it is they say, oh, well, we're thinking about you.
I know.
We're making sure that you don't get too big and have too much.
If you believe that, then you'll believe anything.
So is that, you charge us the same amount for less and we should thank you for it?
Yeah, I know.
Is that what you're saying?
Wagon wheels used to be ginormous things, didn't they? I used to buy them in individual packets from, like, the corner shop.
Yeah.
Oh, they were massive, fluffy, just lovely things. And now they're just, it's like a biscuit, isn't it? It's just not the same.
Every year we used to go to a pantomime at the Theatre Royal in York, and the guy, he's actually only just retired. The guy who did the pantomime, I know, how amazing is that?
Ancient.
I think last year was his final year, it might be the year before last, but yeah, he was in his 70s and he's been the pantomime dame for absolutely years.
Right, gosh.
He was in one or two TV programmes as well. He was in Spender. Do you remember Spender with Jimmy Nail?
Spender, oh, terrible. Sorry to say it, but that man couldn't act.
No, he wasn't the best. He wasn't the best. But anyway, you used to go and see this
either.
pantomime. Oh no, don't even start me on crocodile shoes.
Oh, shocking.
I need to lie down. But what used to happen in this pantomime was his sort of thing, this pantomime dame, was partway through the show, he would throw out wagon wheels.
Would he?
Yeah, and he would throw them out like frisbees.
Right.
But he'd flick them, and they would literally come flying. And he would stand on the stage, and he could get them up to the gods.
Wow.
He'd be like, and they'd be like flying around the theatre.
What, in a packet or?
Not unwrapped, in the packet.
Oh, right, I'm going to say, not unwrapped.
No.
Oh, right.
In the packet, you'd catch it, you'd eat it.
Brilliant.
It's marvellous. The thing is, though, what if I never heard of...
I don't even think you can buy individual wagon wheels anymore.
Maybe not.
I've never seen them.
Well, they're too small.
Well, probably are, yeah.
The funny thing is, though, I wonder if now, in today's world, if that would get past health and safety. Flying wagon wheels.
Well, I'm sure. I don't think anything gets past health and safety these days.
Well, the one thing, I mean, this is the interesting thing, and this brings up, and this is a point I've made before. When I was at school at Christmas, we used to have trifle, and in it were 20p pieces wrapped up in silver foil. No one ever ate them and choked.
No one ever choked and died, but, they will never ever...
No.
That would never ever be allowed, would it?
No. And similarly, I bet you they're not allowed to fling out wagon wheels anymore, because if you didn't see it coming, it hit you in the face. It's really difficult, isn't it? Because, the question is, where do you draw that line?
This is the problem.
It is. It's difficult.
This is the problem. Yeah.
We digressed. Listen to the radio show, please come and join us. We're loving making it, and it's a whole sort of new way of producing a show for us, and you can find the radio show in the show notes below, so just follow the link. I think it's www.bakerybears.com/listen/ and that'll take you straight to the page, and I know, how fast was that?
Well remembered, yeah, that's excellent.
And also
like
speed.
A tongue twister.
Yeah, it's like
Say
Ted
that
Rogers.
3 times.
Yeah.
Oh, Ted Rogers, I used to love that programme.
It's one skill.
Dusty bin.
Well, it's one skill that I wish I'd be able to master.
Doing the 3, 2, 1 thing?
The way he did it.
Oh, I could never do that whole business.
Because the problem is, if you get mixed up, you end up offending an awful lot of people.
You're in danger, aren't you, if you have a problem with that.
Speaking of lovely things which you can go away and listen to, and also lovely things you can go away and read, the latest edition of Knitability is out now.
Yay,
Finally. It's here. We've got a great interview with Rachel Borrello-Carroll.
Yeah.
And the Yarnigans.
Yeah.
They're so sweet.
They're very
It's all a lovely little stuff. Stuffies.
She designed lots of little cute toys. They're just lovely. Yeah.
And also, Jules Hill comes round for tea. Oh,
Jules, you're in it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's lovely. Beautiful photographs, Jules.
And also a really great article from Amy Lawrence, which was just marvellous. She dreams of knitting.
Well, who doesn't?
Knit, pearl. That was the first line of her article.
Oh, right.
Yes.
Okay.
She dreams of knitting.
I had a weird dream last night. I must tell you about that later.
Oh, well, you see, now you've...
Very strange. No,
Look,
it's very bizarre.
it'll have something to do with Kay's past life. She'll have been working in the bank.
Why is that? Why do I always dream?
Because you did it for 17 years.
About working in the bank. I'm back working in the bank. I'll say I had a dream last night and I was back working in the bank, and Dan's like, all right, here we go again. But then something bizarre will happen. It's very strange.
I think, if you do something for a huge proportion of your life, especially if it starts from the moment you leave school.
Yeah, which it did. Yeah.
I think that then sort of imprints itself a little bit in your wiring.
Maybe so, yeah, maybe so. But I do sometimes wake up from a dream thinking, oh my word, I've got to get up and put my uniform on and go to work. And, it takes you a few minutes for my brain to go, hang on a minute, no, it's okay, I don't do that anymore.
Relax. In fact, I haven't done that in...
13 years.
Yes.
Gosh, seems like yesterday.
It does.
It does seem like yesterday.
Folks, it's time for us to find out. Kay Jones, what's on your needles?
Oh,
I hope it is needles. I hope I haven't messed up. Yes,
no,
good.
I don't have anything. I've been avoiding crochet just because I injured my hand, everyone.
That's because Kay gets up in the strangest possible way off the floor.
No, listen, we've redecorated this room. We've repainted this room. Now, before you say it looks exactly the same, it is a different colour. If we could put both of them side by side, you would see
honestly,
it is a different colour.
We promise.
The other one was more blue.
Yes.
This is very much like a duck egg.
Yeah.
And it's an absolutely gorgeous colour.
And also as well, the finish is very different.
The paint that we used is fantastic. We've used it before. It's farrow and ball. And it's expensive paint, but my goodness, folks, it's really worth it.
We should just say, actually, life is an interesting one, isn't it? Because we're all driven by budget. But we've learnt through using cheap paint in the hallway and it not going on very well at all.
You have to do 2 or 3 coats. And
also not lasting as long. Having to repaint more quickly.
It scuffs really easily and you can't really wipe the scuffs off. And
this stuff just lasts forever.
It's absolutely brilliant. And it's like, I really enjoyed painting it on the walls because it's like double cream.
Yeah.
It's just absolutely gorgeous. Yeah. If I don't mind decorating, I don't actually mind decorating. I like getting the edges really crisp and I don't actually mind it, but unfortunately these days my body shouts at me when I do it, and I really hurt my hand and my leg was hurting as well, my back was hurting, just generally. But it's not 100%, but I can knit now. I couldn't knit for a few days, but so I'm definitely avoiding crochet right now. So yes, it's very much a knitted something I've got here.
And just to speak while you get your project out, just speaking of getting older and your body shouting at you for certain things, you're getting old when you can no longer eat what you would like.
No.
You eat what your body will accept.
I've had that issue as well the past
couple of weeks. So have we both. It's so
frustrating. I suffer really badly from IBS, and Dan suffers with his tummy since he had that big surgery.
I think it clearly is IBS, isn't it?
I think it's very similar to IBS.
I think I'm just fortunate in the fact that I never enjoyed food, whereas
and I find it really frustrating. We bought something from a farm shop recently, and it's just an apple pie, and it looked. We just had some, and let's say it didn't agree with either one of us. It was not good. It's just frustrating because
it's the joys of getting older.
I get really mad, and I'll say, "Oh, it's just not fair," Just occasionally, I'd like to have something, but then when I do, it's just not a good idea. So anyway,
hey ho. I think it's a boat, and I'm sure I'm speaking for everyone here.
A boat.
It's a boat that we're all in.
Oh yeah, there's lots of us. There's lots of us out there that have these issues, isn't there? And it's fine. It's not life or death, is it?
No.
You just have to make adjustments to your life.
But what we found out, and I find this tremendously interesting, is I'm going to go one step further than that. If we home make something, we don't have a problem.
No, that is true. Actually,
isn't that interesting?
That is true, and I do think especially pastry seems to be an issue for both of us, and I do think these days that they put a lot of things into pastry to just extend the life of
Also, as well, I wonder
like the
about
expiry date.
You always put really high quality ingredients in, and I just wonder if sometimes the mass-produced are not going to put high quality ingredients.
No, they're not
in.
going to use the best butter, are they, and things like that. So,
and I think those are the areas which cause the problems. This looks marvellous. Of course, it does. It's for me.
What's he like? So I've started a new sock for Dan, and this is my contribution to our autumn Equisocks knit along, which has started now because oh my goodness, it's autumn, everybody.
Do a happy dance.
Yes, we've gone past the 23rd, which was the autumn equinox, and we are now fully into autumn, and all the trees have started to turn.
We're fully into the autumn Equisocks.
We are. Yes, we're into autumn. I'm knitting socks, and I decided to make a pair of scrappy autumn socks for Dan. And he wanted shorties again. I'm still in that shorties thing. I can't remember the last time I made socks that weren't shorties. We've got a bit of pooling going on with one of these yarns.
It's quite a lot, actually.
You can imagine what I think about this.
I think you're not very impressed.
I knew I could see it was doing it, within a few rounds. But I just thought, do you know what? It's part of a scrappy sock.
It's fun.
I'm just going to go with it. So I knit actually more than I wanted to. I thought I'm going to embrace it. Let's just embrace that. And
embrace the pooling.
Yeah, yeah. But this yarn that I've used here is this one. And doesn't it look beautiful in the little mini skein? It's got sparkle in. And this was a 5 Moons mini skein. Now, I don't think 5 Moons are actually in business any longer. I did try and look them up and I couldn't find them. So I don't think, I could be wrong, but I don't think they're in business anymore. And I bought this, I'm pretty sure I bought this mini. It was just a 20 gram mini at the first Yarndale, because we did go to the first Yarndale, didn't we?
And the second.
On the second.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure I bought this at the first Yarndale, so it's quite old, and I've just had it in my stash, and it was called something like, have I still got the ball band?
That's a funny name.
I know.
That would be a great name for a
I do. Look, it was 5 Moons Mini Moon Artemis 4-ply, Hiding the Fairy Dust, and it's a sparkle base. And it cost £3.30 back then for a 20 gram mini. And I thought I'm finally going to use it, and I hadn't used it just because I tend to hoard minis in particular, ones that I really like, and I did really like the colours in this, and I do really like the colours, but I just thought it's perfect for autumn, isn't it? But then that happened. I could never knit a sock that looked like that, a whole sock.
No.
And I know this is a personal opinion, and I've obviously mentioned it before, my aversity to adversity. What's the word? Adverse, is it?
Your adversity.
Thank you.
To pooling.
To pooling. But I don't think these days you really get yarns that look like this anymore. I think dye techniques have kind of changed, haven't they? I've seen a change the past sort of 2-3 years in the way that dyers seem to dye their yarns, and I don't think you really get this so much anymore. It's more sort of like this one. This next one that can you see the brown speckle? This one is another mini that I'd got, and this is Sarah's Texture Crafts, who is another dyer that no longer dyes.
No.
Yeah, so these socks are kind of special because there's going to be lots of yarns in there that you can't get anymore. And again, I kind of hoard things like this because I know I can't get any more of this. But I just thought, you know what? No, I'm going to use it. I'm going to use that mini. I have got a few more of them. And I just thought I'm going to use it. So I've got a bit left to put into another project. And again, it's just really nice autumnal colours. And I like how this one knit up. Look, just kind of speckly. Quite heavily speckly. And then I started it with one of my colours. This is a mini that I've used before. It's like a golden colour. And I'm now currently knitting this colour, which is also one of mine. And this is Grimald Place. And this is the skein of yarn that I will be giving away as a prize today for the Swish and Flick collective.
Wow.
So I thought, yes, let's knit that one. And this is my skein, so that's the full skein of it. And again, I just think it's lovely and autumnal. And I do like this kind of variegation. Do you know where it's lots of different colours? And when I dye yarn, I always dye in pots, on the stove, and I only ever dye 2 skeins at a time. And I know that method it's quite laborious, it's quite labour intensive, and it's slow. And I'm guessing that's why dyers now tend to use different methods that are quicker. And I understand that, but I just really like the randomness that you get when you dye in pots. If you think about it, when your yarn is kind of floating all around in the water, I think it's more inclined to get a more random distribution of colour. I just prefer that method personally, but I do like the way it's knit up. Now, I'm doing something slightly different with these socks.
You aren't.
I am.
Well.
I'm knitting them on 2.25 and I cast on 72 stitches like normal. I knit 15 rounds rib and then 30 rounds for the leg. Usual heel, flap and turn, but then I decided, because the most problematic area for Dan with socks is over the instep, and I actually I did a comparison, because I think generally your instep is kind of similar to your ankle measurement. Certainly when I measured mine, they were almost the same. But when I measured Dan's, there was a vast difference. His instep, I think, was almost 3 inches bigger than his ankle circumference. He's got really broad feet. I'm so sorry. And I have noticed when he wears his socks that the stitches around that instep area just after the heel turn are very stretched. And you've not had any problems with breakages or anything like that, but I just thought, is there anything I can do about this? So I'm trying something different. So what I did was I knit 20 rounds without doing any decreases after I picked up for the gusset. I've now started doing the decreases, which you should be able to see in the fabric. But what I'm doing is I'm doing a decrease round and then 2 plain rounds. So it's much more gradual.
Because if you think about it, to me it seems insane that, these are the socks that I knit for everybody. So if they've got big feet, I knit this. Because everybody's different.
Feet are different, aren't they?
And the beauty of knitting, a bit like when you're knitting gloves, you knit the fingers until the fingers are finished. Similarly, if something is a bit different on the foot, if you've got the capability to adjust it, well, surely we should take that opportunity.
Well, I'm going to give it a try and I'll see how the first one fits you, and it definitely looks much broader across this area.
I can't wait to try
because I had 90 stitches, so I started with 72, and once I'd picked up for the gusset I had 90 stitches across there, which I think is a much better number based on the gauge and how many stitches per inch and the circumference of his instep at that point. I think it's a much better amount of fabric. So we'll see how this goes. I'm really keen to get this first sock finished so that you can try it on and just see how it fits. Because if it works, then I'll carry on doing that with these socks. I mean, although it's a lot more knitting, it is a lot more knitting. Obviously, you've got 90 stitches, and then I'm decreasing much more gradually. So it's going to take me longer, but do you know what? I love knitting socks, so it's not a problem. I don't really mind. So I'm hoping that next time I might have this one finished, and it's quite eclectic looking, isn't it?
Yeah, like me.
I sometimes start scrappy socks and think, is this nice or is it completely ugly?
Well, scrappy is just bonkers.
I know.
So that's the point of it.
So I'm sure it'll all be fine. It's that pooling that...
It'll be fine.
It's just shouting out at me.
Don't worry about it.
I'm not worried about it.
Good.
So yeah, that's my first project, and I've just pulled out loads of kind of autumnally looking colours to use, and I'm just randomly changing them. I'm not doing a set number of rounds. Whenever I get fed up of knitting that particular colour, I'm just changing it. So it's very random, because Amy Exterminate, she always knits sort of random striped scrappy socks and they just look fabulous. So I've copied Amy and it'll just be completely sort of random. So I'm really enjoying the Grimold Place I'm knitting at the minute, so there might be a big amount of that in there.
It's a lovely colour though.
It is really nice, isn't it? And it is kind of Harry Potter-ish, I think.
The term is Harry Pottery.
Harry Pottery.
That's it.
Oh yeah, that does sound better, doesn't it? Now that I can sort of knit again a bit more, I'm going to get on with it. That's obviously the universal symbol
For knitting.
Yes.
What are you?
Feel free to use that
I'm a knitter.
anytime you wish.
It's like a hand puppet without the puppet on it. Speaking of lovely,
It is lovely. Is that what you were going to say, or were you going to say something else?
I know I was going to say that.
All right.
And I don't, look, I don't know about you.
I haven't said it yet.
Oh, I'm desperately sorry. That's the worst transition I've ever done. In 134 episodes,
It's normally
I've never done that.
It's normally
I blew it.
telling me to,
I blew it. It's
Yes.
disgraceful.
Dan Jones.
Yes.
What's on your lovely needles?
It's all...
It's all wrong now.
It's all
gone pear-shaped.
Look, I don't know about you. There's a moment when you're knitting, really when you're doing anything. It might be painting a lovely picture. It might be making a lovely cake. Who knows what it might be, but it starts off,
What?
I've suddenly got embarrassed because
What's happened?
clearly I hit that moment the other week when I was making tea because I was stood there over the stove stirring
I
it.
don't know where this is going.
And what did I say, Kay? I still don't quite remember what I said.
Dan talks to himself all the time. He drives me and Bryony do lally. So we're in the living room, but we can hear everything he's saying in the kitchen. He obviously took the lid off a pot and gives it a stir. And I hear him say, "Oh, that's..." What did you say?
I don't know.
"Oh, that looks rich and tasty." So I just looked at Bryony and I just went, and Bryony said to me, "What did he say?" So I told her and she went, "Why did he say that?" I said, "Well, it's bolognese sauce, so I'm presuming it must look nice." You have no memory of doing these things.
No, I didn't know I said that.
I said, "This is what you said." He said, "No, I didn't say that." I said, "You did."
I didn't recall saying that.
He absolutely talks to himself all the time.
But that was the moment when, after all the hard work, all the chopping, and everything had come together, that was the moment when I looked at it and I thought, my goodness, this looks really nice. And the reason why at that particular moment I thought, oh, that looks really nice, is because I was using beef and not turkey.
We normally have turkey mince.
And I decided, just for a change,
to have some beef, yeah.
Yes, and that was the reason why I said, rich and tasty.
A bit more iron for me. Rich and tasty. I was like, oh, for goodness sake.
What an idiot. Even I feel like an idiot.
Thinks he's blooming Gordon Ramsay down there.
I really don't. And that was the moment just then when Kay you said lovely, and I looked at this and I thought, that's lovely.
Oh, it is.
It's the first time I looked at it and thought, my goodness, yes, there's the odd little mistake here and there. Yes, I'm knitting on the edges of my capabilities, but that is what I love the most. And I actually wrote about this in the latest issue of Knitability.
You did. Very heartfelt.
Enjoy knitting on the edge of my capabilities. And, throughout my time, that's gone from maybe the Bankhead hat or the Speargrass hat, or for a little while it was your superb Mon Ami hat, and, the Samantha, and also the Solia. If I'm knitting on the edge of my capabilities, that takes me to where I need to be to fully enjoy the activity of knitting. Because that's what made me love knitting. It's that feeling.
So funny, isn't it? Because I'm not like that at all.
Your thrill comes in the finished object.
It does. And working with beautiful colours and beautiful yarns.
Yeah, I also like that. But I'm rubbish at picking them.
You're more about the process.
I am, but I love knitting with lovely yarns. You pick me out some lovely yarns and I love it.
Yeah, but
I couldn't do it myself, though.
We don't use the most expensive yarns. We don't use...
It's not what it's about.
No, it's not.
Lovely
but,
yarn lovely yarn is the right yarn for the project, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
And the person.
Yeah.
And when all those things are there, then that is a lovely yarn.
Yeah.
This is a lovely yarn.
It is. This is Dan's Cascades, and this is the King Cole.
It's Michelle Wong's Cascades.
Well, it is. Isn't it beautiful? I can't
It
wait
really
to
is.
wear this. It's the King Cole Merino Blend DK,
Do you know what I found?
and it's truffle is the colourway.
I found that I'm really enjoying knitting the clay quilt. I am. I alternate, as you know, between the two garments on the show episode changeovers.
Haven't you got a third one on the go? Have you not
Nearly.
cast that on
It's
yet?
all ready to go. The needles are there, and I just need to
right,
cast
okay.
it on.
Right.
But the 2 weeks that I sort of focus heavily on this go about 1,000,000 times faster than than the 2 weeks that I focus on the clay quad. Isn't that interesting? As soon as I start knitting on this, it's it's showtime.
It's a mental thing, isn't it? Because it's because you're enjoying this more, so time seems to go quicker when you're doing an activity.
It's funny though, because you would think though that I was not enjoying knitting the clay quad, and I am.
No, but
I really
not as much. And I do understand. I mean, it's beautiful.
Just such an amazing blend.
It's sort of architectural, isn't it?
She's a genius.
And I think the yarn really suits it. It's a nice round yarn.
Yeah.
If you'd have used a 2-plied yarn, I don't think this would have shown up. I don't think all these lovely cabley things. They're not even cables, are they? They're twists.
There's some cables.
Oh, is there some cable? Oh, yes, there is, yeah.
It's a mixture.
I just don't think they would have popped out as much as they do. So definitely, I think yarn choice is an important.
Just need arms and 2 legs, and we have a little person.
A little snowman.
A little ball person. There's the yarn. It's lovely. The colour's perfect.
I mean, if I hold it to my underarm, we're doing pretty well.
Well, that's kind of you to say.
It's to a stand-up.
But it wants to be down here, doesn't it?
It wants to be longer than that, but I mean, you're doing really well.
That's good. Well, I'm loving knitting it, and that's when you've nailed it, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you find that project that you're adoring, and thanks to Kay, the yarn's perfect, and it's just great. And
side panels are gorgeous.
Yeah, they're really hard. They're really hard.
Look at the side panel. This runs down here, doesn't it?
Either side.
Yeah, and it's just gorgeous. Like, it's such a beautiful little detail, isn't it?
Yeah.
That
something that normally someone would just stick.
You just
that all the way around it.
Going all the way
because what's
around.
the point in putting something on there? Because it's hardly ever going to be seen.
No, but
geniuses though.
But you just catch that glimpse, don't you? Every now and again, and you think, "Oh, that looks."
You think about it; it's prime real estate.
Yeah.
Because one on either side, and it feels like it's bordered. It feels like a picture that's been bordered.
Yeah, and I think also because it's on a lady, I think having that bit of more structure down the side, even though there's no shaping in this, I think it will enhance the waist area.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Cool.
It's lovely. And you're using chow goose, aren't you?
Yes.
And it's
no problems with the needles at all.
4mm. It is printed on there with chow goose, isn't it? But my goodness, you've got to concentrate to see it.
So that's my lovely cascades.
Beautiful.
What else is on your needles?
Okay, I've been working quite a lot on my Burrow Blanket. I think I probably would have finished this by now had I not done this thing to my hand. But I'm not... You see, I get frustrated because if I've got a plan in my head and I think, right, okay, I can finish that in the next few days, I'm going to finish it. But then something stops me, I get really frustrated. But I just had to overcome that frustration and just put it down until I knew my hand was okay, because I definitely would have done more damage to it. Because this now is quite a large item. I've finished the main panel and I've picked up for one of the sides. So I'm doing really well. Now, because I've picked up for a side, it's kind of scrunched up on the needles. I'll show you where I'm at. Let me just... This is it sideways. And you can see I've picked up here all the way along the side under that I-cord. And doesn't it look... I just love the way that I-cord pops with all those colours. It's just so pretty. Let me see if I can just hold it up.
Oh gosh, it is lovely.
It is lovely, yeah. There we go. Isn't that really nice with the I-cord? I love the contrast between garter stitch going that way, your I-cord which goes horizontal, and then garter stitch going the opposite direction. I think the difference in text, just the way it looks, I think it's really lovely. I'm really pleased with it. But for the centre panel, I just kept knitting until, to me, it looked long enough for it's kind of like a big Afghan. It will cover 2 people very happily. But it's a movable feast, this blanket. You can really knit it to whatever length you want to. I can't really now hold it up sort of this way, but this is where I cast on. This was the top. You can see there's little eyelets. And then this was the edge that I finished at. And I think the last time I showed you, I might have been sort of down here. So I knit all of this, did the eyelets at the top, And I love this combination that I finished with. It's kind of peachy, it's sort of blue moving into peach. I think it's really pretty. And I love these eyelets, the way that they worked out. So I'm now, like I said, I'm just working on this border, and I'm just going to decide as I go how wide I want this. But again, that will be entirely up to you as a knitter. You could, if you want, just do a little feature border, so it looks more like I've got the Burrow wrap over here actually, let me just grab it. So this is the Burrow wrap that inspired, obviously, the Burrow Blanket. And you can see the border on this one, it's not very, very wide, but it adds a really beautiful feature to the actual finished wrap. Gosh, I love this, it's so beautiful. Listen to me. So that's my Burrow wrap, and that's what inspired the blanket. So I keep assessing it. I do a few rows, and then I sort of stand back and have a look and just decide how wide I want that border. I can't anticipate it being more than maybe 3 or 4 inches, I would say. And then I'm going to do the picot again, picot bind off, because I just think that adds such a beautiful finish to it. And yes, I am going to add tassels, and I'm going to add gigantic tassels, because I think that'll just be...
Make it squishy.
Yeah, I just think it'll be so fun to have really long, chunky tassels all along the bottom of the blanket. I think that just will look so snuggly and so lovely.
It will.
So who knows, I might have this finished next time as soon as I feel like my hand is completely healed and that it can take the weight of moving the blanket around. So I'm holding, whereas the Burrow wrap was 2 strands, it was a fingering weight and a mohair. This is 3 strands of fingering weight held together all the way through. So it's a brilliant use of leftovers. I've been using, I will detail in the pattern exactly how I sort of blended my colours so that you get a nice graduated look. So I'll explain that in the pattern, how you can go about that. But I basically used amounts of yarn from like 10 grams up to about 40 grams. So it's brilliant for kind of leftover skeins that you've made socks with, or maybe you've made a 2 skein shawl and you've got sort of 30 grams left from that. And you can just gather all of the colours that you want to use. It might, like I say, the thing that I've loved most about this blanket is choosing the colours, and it kind of naturally happened in these colours that it's ended up, and they are more kind of bright pastels, I would say, but it's entirely up to you. You might want all jewel tones, and that would be gorgeous, wouldn't it? Or you might be more of a neutral person and you might have loads of leftovers like in greys and browns and creams and things like that, and again, that would be absolutely gorgeous. As soon as I get this finished, I'll obviously let you know, but then it's got to be test knit, so it'll be a little bit before this is out. It'll be finished when it's finished, as they say, and I've just enjoyed the process so much, and that, to me, I just think, if I've really enjoyed it as a knitter, I try and view it as a knitter rather than as someone who's designed it. If I've really enjoyed it, then hopefully, some other people might enjoy it as well. I did initially pick up the side border using a longer cable, because the one I'm using is the 32 inch and it's a fixed. And I bought it especially to knit it. It's a higher bamboo. And I just love it. I love those needles. But I didn't have a 40 inch higher bamboo in that size. It's 6mm. So I thought, right, okay, I'll use my Chow Goose. But I just wasn't enjoying it as much, and I was finding it really hard. After using wood and then transferring to metal, I just wasn't enjoying it as much. But actually, I found out that I could fit all the stitches onto 32 inch. So I just went back and used the same needle, which I thought was great.
Yeah.
So... lovely.
Some more colour work. It's the My Summer Bonnet. I'm sure that's what someone said. Is that
Not
what I said?
summer, it was winter, wasn't it?
Oh, my winter bonnet. Yeah, it must be.
Wouldn't make sense for it to be summer, would it?
Either, it must be winter.
I think it was winter.
Yeah, it must be. Because you wouldn't really want to wear...
My winter hat.
You wouldn't want to wear this in summer.
No.
My apologies. I got my seasons mixed up. It's the My Winter Bonnet. And I'm just... I don't know. I think it's because the last thing that I knit... It didn't have those sort of traditional colourwork repeats. It was just more completely nuts and random. because of course it was the Alaska.
Yeah, but you didn't enjoy that as much.
No,
so.
I didn't. I'm loving knitting this.
Oh, right, okay.
I'm absolutely loving knitting this.
Right.
But to me, it feels like a whole different technique.
Right.
You just, you know, you have to totally change technique. I'm much happier with the last couple of rows. I'm getting my head around how to tighten up those loose stitches.
Right.
And what I'm finding is, with those loose stitches, they're normally coming on a run, so it's normally one of those ones in the middle, because you obviously left the float and then you've done the stitch. And what I found is, if you take the next yarn over the top, so rather than going underneath, if you bring the yarn over the top and knit it, that then tightens up the stitch.
Right.
That might be something which everybody already knows, but I've just found that that's really it's beginning to work really well. So the frustration, I suppose, that I've had is, because I've just knit the Alaska and then I've come into this with the same sort of approach that I knit the Alaska, and it just wasn't right.
No, and I think actually, you know, it'll be one of those things that from a distance it's going to look really effective.
I think it'll look great.
Yeah.
I think it'll look great. I think it'll definitely need a pom-pom. I think, you know, that will then make it look like a really nice, you know, fun winter hat. But more, for me, the importance of this project is all about, I just want to get good at colour work. You know, I've found that there's been certain things which have been a step, you know, towards where I'm at now with what I enjoy doing. And double knitting was definitely, you know, one of the steps on that journey. And, you know, now tackling colourwork garments, that for me has sort of brought together all the elements of knitting which I've enjoyed over the years, and it sort of all makes sense. The challenge now, though, is I think colourwork is such a challenging technique, and each project has very different challenges, that when you're first starting out with it, it just takes time to understand what you need to do when.
Yeah, I think it's just, you know, with me, with colourwork, I've found I've been most successful by holding yarns in both hands for a couple of reasons. One, that you don't have to think so much about the floats, because holding them in both hands, it kind of naturally does that for you, I find. It just seemed to go quicker, and I just had to, you know, you've got to master the technique of knitting continental, which is completely alien if you're not used to doing it. And I think you tried that, didn't you? And you absolutely detested it.
My hands are too big to knit, but I personally find that when I try and do that, my hands are just too big.
Yeah, but then the biggest thing for me was that your yarns don't get all twisted.
I don't mind. I mean, I don't particularly,
because your yarns do. I always see you having to untwist your yarns.
That doesn't.
It winds me up.
Nothing about the process winds me up. The only thing about the process that winds me up is issues with the tension on the stitches, and that comes through experience.
I just wonder as well if, because the other technique I used to do was I used to have them both over the same finger. You know, I used to have one kind of underneath and one on top. You know, you would knit with that one, and then I'd go underneath and knit with that one, and then go underneath and that one, and just keep alternating that way. That
creates a dominant yarn.
It does.
And that's then when you get one stitch that's sucking in a bit,
and
one stitch that's sticking out prominent.
It does naturally produce a more dominant thing, but I don't kind of mind that so much, because I just think, which one do I want most dominant, and then knit it in that way.
Whereas where I've sort of got to with colourwork is I want both colours. I want an even fabric.
Well, what Arnie and Carlos say to do...
I know that I've not got an even fabric, by the way.
But what Arnie and Carlos say is that it doesn't matter which yarn is on top and which one is on the bottom. It makes no odds, and, you know, you shouldn't worry about that. But I think what we've found is if you alternate which one's on top and which one's on the bottom, then that creates a more even...
Yeah, you alternate each stitch, but then also when you come back to that stitch over the top, you alternate it again.
Yeah, you see, I find all that way too fussy.
But that's the mental engagement that makes me want to knit.
I would much rather just think, right, okay, you know, In this instance, you would want the red to be more dominant. You know, it's the motif I want to stand out, so I want the red to be more dominant. So that's the one I'm going to hold in such a way that I know it's going to be the dominant colour.
And then what happens is the whites, the single whites, disappear.
They're just smaller, aren't they? They're smaller.
I can't stand that.
It's because you're knitting one yarn looser than the other, and that's why one becomes more dominant than the other, because the stitches are bigger.
Yeah.
So, you know, it swings and roundabouts, isn't it? It's really whatever works for you. For me personally, I just like a technique where it's simple, it's unfussy, and I would rather have that bit of dominance going on.
What you're getting into is why we all knit. It is.
And that, you know, we're all different, aren't we?
We are.
That's what's so brilliant, because there's so many different techniques, and there's bound to be something that suits everyone, isn't there?
There is. And, you know, the biggest piece of advice I would give to any knitter, any new knitter, is try a bit of everything. Find what you like, and then do it the best that you possibly can. And, you know, then you're going to be doing what you enjoy, and you're going to be producing the best possible work. And, you know, that's really what you were touching on last time when you were talking about garment knitting.
I was.
And thank you all so much for all your lovely response. And, you know, I think Kay now has finally come to the conclusion, because over the years, you know, because I think the thing that you need to remember is over the years you've knit some absolutely phenomenal garments. And I will hold up, or I wish I could hold up, the Old Man and the Sea as potentially the crowning glory, because that thing is stunning and it's worn to this day. It
is.
And it's loved.
It's like a waistcoat type of garment. It's a short sleeve cardigan. It's called the Old Man and the Sea, and I knit it years ago.
But that's just one of many garments that you've knit.
Nearly broke me. The way that you work the sleeves and.
But you did it, and it looks tremendous.
Yeah, and Dan's mum has it, Nana Wendy has it, and she wears it loads. Yeah, she's got 2 things on it, actually. And she
garments.
wears them, garments.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much for your feedback about my sort of meltdown on knitting the Penguono. I have taken your advice, and I've taken my own advice, and I've hibernated it for a little bit until I just feel strong enough to tackle it. I am going to finish it. I'm not going to be defeated by it, and I don't want to just leave it unfinished. I want that finished thing. I desperately want it. So that's what's keeping me going.
And how this sort of joins up with what we were talking about there is Kay has knit many garments to an extremely high standard.
And I love your vest that you wear, you know. And
yes.
You see the difference with that vest, and maybe this is what I should look at, is that vest that I knitted in, the green one, do you remember? I knit that from a vintage pattern.
Yeah.
It was an old-fashioned pattern. So it was written in a completely different style to how garment patterns are written now, and it was constructed in a different way. It was knit in pieces, you know, like just the way that garments always were knit when, you know, my mum was knitting when I was little. And I enjoyed that so much more than knitting a garment the way that they seem to be designed now. So I was thinking actually that I would go and look through Mum's old patterns, because I do kind of have a hankering, and maybe what I should do is look to knit you another vest or just something.
Yeah, just give yourself a break from it.
Yeah, I know, and this is the problem with me. I just think, okay, you know, I didn't want to knit that thing, and that thing was bothering me, but maybe I should.
No.
And what did I say last time? I said I should know myself better than to, you know, just don't start it.
Look,
and here I am talking again.
Let's summarise and move on. You've knit many gorgeous garments that are loved to this day, but you don't really enjoy the process, and so I think you've made your peace, certainly the last couple of weeks, with knitting stuff that you enjoy. I definitely feel better about things. So tell them what that yarn is, and show them something else you're enjoying knitting.
The yarn that Dan's knitting his hat in, I will just tell you, is that it's King Cole again. It's Merino Blend 4-ply.
How are you going to pronounce Cole then? I loved it.
Clole, I don't know.
It's lovely.
And the 2 colours are white and cranberry, which I think are just perfect for the festive season, which is on the way.
What else is on your needles?
Right, the last thing I've got to show you this time is a hat. And look at this lovely bag. Oh my goodness, I love this fabric. It's like autumn going into winter. It's an autumn woods, and it's started to snow with all the lovely animals. I love this fabric. I bought this from Jill, lovely Jill at Bertie and Poppet. And look at her great little wooden Oh, it's a bit sweet, little bunnies on it. And it's fantastically made. I love it. And it's got an orange zip which matches the foxes. And it's got a really nice, it's a matching fabric inside. Oh, I love it. Jill, I love this bag. And in this bag, I've got a hat, as I said. And I saw this pattern a little while ago. And it intrigued me. It allowed me to purchase a yarn that I've been wanting to try for a while, because it used this particular yarn by chance, which I just thought was amazing.
And I think we should do a review on that yarn.
Yeah, I will do, definitely.
Yeah.
I will, because it's the first time I've used this yarn. And the yarn is, I always want to say Fincalana, but it's not, it's Filcalana. Filcalana Arwetta Classic. I know, it makes me think of my dad, because everybody called him Phil. Arwetta Classic. And this is a 4-ply yarn from Denmark, which is really nice. It's a 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon. So perfect for socks. And you know what? It's really nice and soft. I didn't know what to expect. I did expect it to be more rustic. It's really nice. It's really nice and soft. And some of their colours are more heathered. There's quite a lot of like solids, but some are more heathered. And I chose one that is heathered. And this is called, I'm sure it's Boysenberry Mix. It's colour 807. And look, can you see how lovely and heathered it is? It's really pretty, isn't it? And I just thought it was the perfect colour for autumn. And you need 3 50-gram skeins for this particular hat. It's not expensive yarn, it's really nice and reasonable. And the hat that I saw that really appealed to me, it's called the Perfect Double Hat. There's the pattern, the Perfect Double Hat. It's by that lady there. Uti, I can say your first name, Uti. This hat is constructed in such a way. Let me see if I can show you this photo here without showing it. I think it's a free pattern actually. But it's constructed in such a way, it's called a double hat because it is a double layered hat. So the way that you knit it is you cast on and you increase stitches out. You then knit just plain and then you decrease at the other end and then you push one bit inside the other. So you're knitting like a sausage. Can you see it there? Look. And then you push one inside the other, pop on a tassel, and this is being cuffed over the brim as well. And that just really appealed to me. I thought, oh, that'll be so nice and warm. But yeah, I can knit it with a fingering weight yarn, and I love knitting hats in fingering weight yarn. But yeah, I'm going to get a hat that's kind of like a DK or a worsted weight hat, aren't I? But it'll have the look of a really finely knit hat. Because you knit it on, I think it's 2.5mm. Yes, 2.5mm needles. So I'm into the bit where I'm just knitting plain. So you can see I cast on at the top, I increased out, and now I'm just knitting down this plain bit. So it is now on a hat circular, but when you start it off, you obviously can't start it off on a circular because you're just starting with a few stitches and you're increasing out. So I used double points. I started with just 6-inch double points, but I found that when I'd got all of the stitches on, because it's quite a high stitch count because it's quite a nice tight gauge, I found that I was losing stitches off the end. So I changed to some higher 8-inch bamboos. And I knit with these until I could sort of tell that it was okay to pop it onto a hat circular, just to now go round and round. I've got to admit, I prefer knitting hats on, you know, a short circular to DPNs. I found these, it needed the 8-inch DPNs I found just because of the number of stitches. But I found them a little bit kind of getting in my way, you know, because they're longer. And I did try and persevere with the 6 inches, but I was, you know, losing stitches off the back end of my needle without realising it. So these worked definitely better, but I'm now much happier that I'm on a short circular and I can just go round and round until I reach a certain length, and then you just start doing decreases like you do a normal hat. So I will switch back to DPNs to do the decreases, you know, when you get to that point. And I just think it's a really great idea, and I'm really enjoying the yarn. It's kind of, I mean, it is definitely like a sock weight, but some sections of it, at times I think, oh, it's quite a skinny sock weight, but then I think, oh, maybe it's not. So I think, you know, to knit socks, I think it'd be absolutely fine, because on 2.5mm it's producing a really nice gauge. I think it looks lovely. The only problem I'm having with this is I chose quite a dark yarn, so I'm finding that, you know, to knit it at night time, it's a bit of a strain on my eyes. And I did buy another colour, which I will show you in Endy Bits, and I kind of wish I'd cast on with the other colour, but I really wanted this colour as a hat. So it'll be fine. I've just got to knit it at times when the light is bright enough. But I would really recommend the pattern. If you fancy knitting it, I think it's great. And I really liked the way that the increases were done at the beginning. It's just knit front backs. Was it knit front? No, it wasn't knit front backs. It was a backwards loop cast on. I'm sure it was. Yes, you do a backwards loop cast on for the increases, and I've never done that before on a hat, and I thought, oh, it's going to produce holes or something, but actually it didn't. And this is the bit that's going to be inside anyway, so you won't even see this. So I just thought, well, even if it does look a bit more sort of not as neat, it doesn't really matter. But it was totally fine. It looks great. So I'm really enjoying that, and I think this would make a perfect kind of travel project, because once you've got it onto the short circular, you're just knitting that whole big piece just round and round and round, and I think that's just, you know, a brilliant little project to have, you know, car knitting or plane knitting. Not that we ever go on a plane. I know in theory it would be a good thing to knit. So yeah, I will do a review on the yarn, and I don't know how much I've used of that actually, maybe half of it. But it does say you need 3 of them, so that's what I've got. Because effectively you're knitting 2 hats, aren't you, if you think about it?
Yeah.
So you would need more than 100 grams to knit 2 hats, I think.
Now then, ladies and gentlemen, last year we launched the very first season of the Bakery Bears Pudding Club, and would you believe that today we bring the second season to a close?
Wow.
Time does in fact fly.
It does.
So to celebrate that rather wonderful event of the end of season 2, we thought we should finish this season in quite a bit of style.
Who's ready for some more baking? This season we'll share more of the tastes of our childhood, but with some modern twists we know our mums and grandmas would love. We're going to show you how to make 8 more delicious desserts. And at the end of the season, you can vote for your favourite. Last year, Millionaire's Shortbread was your winner. And we can't wait to see which pudding wins this year. So come and join me in the Bakery Bears Pudding Club. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been waiting 2 seasons to do this. You are looking at my absolute favourite pudding. This, everyone, is Banoffee Pie, and I was fated to love it because it was born the same year as me. Most people think Banoffee Pie is American, but it was actually invented in 1971 by the owner and the head chef of the Hungry Monk restaurant in East Sussex, which is of course in the south of England. Their inspiration for Banoffee Pie came from a restaurant in San Francisco called Blum's, who created a delicious dessert called Coffee Toffee Pie. As soon as it hit the tables of the Hungry Monk, Banoffee Pie became so popular, customers would phone to check it was on the menu before they booked their table for dinner. And would you believe its name, Banoffee Pie, was only meant to be temporary? They had intended to come up with something much more poetic, but the name stuck, and the rest, as they say, is history. I can't wait another moment. Let's get in the kitchen and get baking. Okay, so the ingredients for our delicious Banoffee Pie. We will of course need some bananas. I've got 3 bananas here, and they should be at that just ripe stage. You don't want super ripe bananas for this. Some butter, light muscovado sugar, which is the sort of soft brown sugar that's like got a very sandy texture, very fine. A tin of condensed milk. These tend to come in a standard size, but it's 397 grams. I've never seen them in any other size apart from this. And it should be the full fat version, got to be full fat. A Cadbury's flake. You can either use a flake, you can use some cocoa powder, or you can use a little bit of melted chocolate, but I'll explain that when we get to that part of the process. Some digestive biscuits and vanilla extract. Okay, so what about the baking notions? Right, not too many things at all are needed to make this, which is great, and I'm sure it will be things that you've already got. So we're going to need, first of all, actually the most important thing is what we're going to make the pie in. Now this is about an 8-inch loose bottomed tin, and it's quite deep, you can see here. And what I've done with it, first of all, I've lined it with some cling film, and then I've also put a circle of baking parchment at the bottom, just to make absolutely sure that this thing is going to come out of the tin easily. We've then got a rolling pin. Although this is not completely essential, it's basically used to bash the digestive biscuits, so any implement for that will suffice. A lovely wooden spoon, a bowl, a freezer bag, again for bashing your biscuits. And then for whisking your cream, I'm going to use an electric whisk. If you're feeling brave, you could use a balloon whisk if you really want to get some extra exercise. And then just a couple of saucepans. So that's everything we're going to need. So let's get baking. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make the biscuit base. This is dead simple. I'm going to get some digestive biscuits. Now the recipe calls for 150 grams, which is about 10 apparently. So let's see if that's right, shall we? I don't trust just to use 10. I am going to weigh it and let's just see, because it depends on the brand that you use, I guess, doesn't it? I can't imagine they're all exactly the same. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Oh, 151 grams. So that's brilliant. It is indeed 10 biscuits. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop the biscuits into a freezer bag. I love doing this. It's very therapeutic. And then we're going to crush them. So sort of make sure that none are going to sort of fly out of the end. I'm just going to use the rolling pin, but you know, a wooden spoon, anything like that would work, and I'm just going to bash them. Now, you don't want to, I tend to like to have a little bit of texture. You don't want great big bits, but it's okay to have a few bits that are sort of a little bit more chunky. It's very satisfying doing this. So just sort of flip it over, make sure you get all of them. You could do this in a food processor, but it's just not worth it. It's not worth the hassle of washing everything up afterwards when, you know, this just really takes moments. And it's nice to do. Not far off. They were a bit too big, those chunks. You do want it fairly fine, but like I said, a few bigger bits is okay. And children will love to do this as well. It's a great thing to do with your children or grandchildren. See, it's just a nice sort of sandy texture with just a few bigger sort of crumbs. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is to melt some butter. So the easiest way I find to measure it is to put your saucepan onto the scales, zeroise it, and then put your butter into the saucepan. So we need 75 grams. So let's see if I can guess that. Oh, 65, not bad. A bit more. 76, we'll live with that. So I'm going to pop that onto the hob and just melt that butter. Okay, so it's nearly melted now, and I'll just say while this is finishing melting, this is a pudding that really is not for anyone that's currently doing Slimming World. It is high in fat, I'll be absolutely honest with you. There's no two ways about it, but I just see it as one of those things that's just a treat. You know, we don't have this every day. We certainly wouldn't probably have it every month, but once in a while, I don't think it hurts to have a little bit of something. Okay, so butter's all melted, and now all I'm going to do is tip all of those lovely biscuit crumbs into the butter. I've turned the heat off as well, I should have said that. I turned the heat off as soon as the butter had melted. There we go. So now all I'm going to do is just give it a good mix until you've got all of those biscuit crumbs are covered in the melted butter. If you happen to see any biscuits that you think are a little bit big, just give them a crush with your wooden spoon and all will be well. Stir it for a couple of minutes because you do want to make sure that every little bit of biscuit has got a coating of butter, and you shouldn't be able to see any butter at all in the bottom of your pan. I think we're about there. Right, so now I'm going to tip all of this lovely mixture into my prepared tin. Oh, it smells so nice. I mean, really, butter and biscuits, it's bound to smell nice, isn't it? And now what we need to do is just distribute it all the way around your tin as evenly as possible. And now we're going to push it down, and I use a metal spoon for this. I just find it's kind of the best implement to use. And just go all the way over, pushing down at the edges. You do want this to be nice and firm. So I'll go all the way around the edges and then push down in the middle. And then go back around the edges. Once we've done this, we're going to pop it into the fridge to chill it for about 15 minutes or so. And what that does is the butter will then begin to harden again, and that holds the whole biscuit base together. It's like a cheesecake base, basically, is what we've done. You could use different biscuits if you wanted, but really the traditional digestive biscuit I always think is the best thing to use. And then the final thing I do is I kind of go over and just smooth it all. So you can see we have got some texture in there, which is nice because you do get that little bit of a crunch because everything else is fairly soft in it, and so it's really nice to have that contrast of texture. There we go. So that's the biscuit base done. I'm going to pop it in the fridge now for about 15 minutes, and whilst that's chilling, we're going to make our lovely toffee caramelly sauce. What I'm going to do is into another saucepan, I'm going to measure out 75 grams of butter and 75 grams of the light muscovado sugar. So again, I always just put the pan onto the scales, zero-wise, and then the ingredients into it. So once again, I've got to guess 75 grams. Oh, 69. I was a bit closer this time. Oh, 76. Okay. We had 76 before, didn't we? So let's go with that. And now the same amount of sugar. So just zero-ize that and then the sugar in. Oh, I love light muscovado sugar. It's probably one of my favourites. It's just fantastic. It's marvellous on porridge. If you love porridge, a bit of this on top of it is gorgeous. So 75 grams. Nearly there. 76 again. That seems to be the number of the day. So I'm going to pop this onto the heat and melt those two together. So we're nearly there. Do keep stirring this though, because sugar will burn really easily. So don't take your eye off it, just stay with it. It only takes a couple of minutes, and you just want to keep stirring until all of that butter has disappeared, basically. Keep it on a fairly low heat, don't overheat it at this point. And once again, the smell is just lovely. You instantly get, because of the muscovado, you do instantly get that kind of toffee smell coming off it. It's gorgeous. Last bit of butter just disappearing there. I'm just going to turn that down. And now what we're going to do is we're going to add the condensed milk. straight in. I always use a spatula because it's a sticky old substance, is condensed milk, and we just want to get it all out of the tin. We don't want to leave any behind. So I always just use a spatula just to make sure we've got it all out. Now you can, some people might be thinking, why don't you just use a tin of caramel, because, you know, toffee sauce, because you can buy that. You can do that if you want to for speed, but I just think it's nicer to make it. And also this does set a bit firmer than the tins of sauce will. And I think you really do want that kind of firm texture so that it cuts nicely. I'm going to turn up the heat. And what you've got to do is just keep stirring this. Again, don't leave it. First of all, you want to amalgamate everything together. Keep it moving. Make sure first that you've got all of the mixture mixed together. And once you've brought it to the boil, you want to stir for 2 or 3 minutes whilst it's kind of at that boiling stage. But I can't emphasise how much that you don't walk away from this. Keep stirring it because it will burn really easily. Okay, so this is now up to that boiling point. So I'm now going to sort of watch the clock and just keep stirring for 2 or 3 minutes, no more than 3 minutes. And I will just say, actually, whilst I'm doing this, that if you were to use gluten-free biscuits, I mean, I never have used them, but I can't really think why it wouldn't work. As long as they form that nice crumb when you bash them, then if you were to use gluten-free biscuits, then this recipe actually is gluten-free, because there's nothing else in there, is there, that's got gluten in. So, I mean, that's a brilliant thing, isn't it? So you can really feel this now getting thicker, and it's gone a little bit darker in colour. So whatever you do, do not stop stirring. And I would always use a wooden spoon for this, not a metal spoon. The reason we don't want to stop stirring this is just because it will catch really quickly. We've got the butter in there, we've got the sugar, and then you've got that milk, effectively, condensed milk. And all of those things are inclined to catch really easily. Okay, I think we're about there. That's about 3 minutes. It's nice and thick and smooth. So I'm going to turn that off and then get our biscuit base out of the fridge. Now, before we pour it into the biscuit base, I'm just going to add about a teaspoon of vanilla extract. I'm using vanilla bean paste, and I tend to just sort of put a blob in. I just judge it by eye and just mix that through. Oh, it smells amazing now I've put that vanilla in. So just mix all that vanilla through, make sure it's nice and evenly distributed. So now all we're going to do is we're going to pour all this lovely caramel sauce onto our biscuit base. And to do that, I'm going to use the spatula. So I'm just going to take all of that sauce off my wooden spoon. I just don't want to waste any of this sauce because it's just so yummy. And now I'm just going to pour it in. Are you ready? Oh, look at that. Oh my goodness. Get your spatula in the pan. Can you tell I really like this pudding? Make sure you get every last bit out of that saucepan. Now just give it a little jiggle, if you like, just to even it all up. So that's our first stage done, if you like. What we now need to do is we're going to pop that into the fridge and let it really chill down. Now, if you're kind of in a rush, I would say bare minimum of an hour. If you can do longer, then that's brilliant. So, for example, if you were going to have this after your tea, you could do this stage first thing in the morning, pop it into the fridge, and then half an hour before you're ready to eat it, you can just finish everything else off. Or even you could make it the night before, it'll be perfectly fine. Anything up to sort of 24 hours, you can leave it in the fridge and then just, finish it off the next day or a few hours later. But minimum of an hour in the fridge. So I'm going to pop that in, and then we will see you back in part 2. We're going to whip some cream, we're going to chop some bananas, and we're going to sprinkle some flake on top. Absolutely delicious. So we'll see you back soon.
my goodness, what a pudding already. I would just eat that. You know, you said when we were filming that you'd just bury your face in just the biscuit crumbs soaked in butter anyway. And, you know, similarly, I would go with biscuit crumbs soaked in butter and that toffee sauce. Yeah. And that would be perfectly delicious. Would you believe that prior to adding the bananas, which we'll do in part 2, they actually tried apples.
Apples?
Mandarins and oranges.
That's weird.
I know, but it's only weird to us.
Yeah,
because we know. Now that combination it's up there for me with sausage and mash and bacon and eggs, and, you know, it's just one of those. And how wonderful to sort of come up with that.
It's kind of like the banana split, isn't it? Because you've got bananas, you've got cream, you've got the chocolate.
Mm.
And if you put toffee sauce on a banana split, it would work, I think.
I suppose you're right. Yeah, I mean, I think you're absolutely right. And folks, we're only halfway there, because when you come back, we will be popping our bananas on, covering it in cream, and then trying a lovely, delicious slice.
Yes.
Oh, yes, and I cannot wait. Trust me, you won't be able to wait either. And I don't think this has got anything to do with someone who does or does not like bananas, because they are not my chosen fruit.
No.
But in this, it's like mushrooms in a bolognese.
Yeah, you don't really notice it as much. But, I mean, I love bananas.
So do not discard this because of the bananas. And if you're that offended by the bananas, just leave them out.
Yeah. What would it be if you left out the bananas? I mean, I wonder if you could...
Offie pie.
I wonder if you could use something like strawberries or...
Well, potentially you could put anything in, or you could just leave them out.
Yeah, you could
and just stick cream on top.
Just put cream. That seems wrong, doesn't it?
What's wrong about it?
It would still be nice.
There's nothing wrong about it at all.
That toffee filling is just amazing.
It's delicious. It is.
It is.
Unfortunately, the come down from the high of having it is quite rough.
Yeah, it's all gone. I think I had...
What I mean is, it's why I've actually stopped drinking Coke, because the come down off it was so intense. I do love the taste.
Yeah, I mean, I had 2 smallish pieces. Bryony had a piece, and then you had the rest.
Yeah, but you make it sound like I did not eat. I said a number of times, and I did not finish off yours when you left part of it. I did not overdo myself with that at all.
No.
I had a normal size piece that any normal person would have, and that was the end of it. But yes, folks, do not miss part 2. And of course, none of any of this would be possible without our Bakery Bear patrons. And this is literally, it's the tip of the iceberg of all the things we do. Because if you enjoy cake, we've just been on another quest for the perfect slice of cake.
Yes.
Oh, yes. We're taking our viewers of that series, available exclusively to Bakery Bear patrons, to cake shops all over Yorkshire.
Yeah, it was a nice one, actually.
Yeah, it was okay. It was okay, wasn't it?
It was very, very pleasant and perfectly acceptable.
Yeah. But you see, we've had the highs, though, of Gervo.
That's true.
And, I mean, that's gluten-free and...
Oh, that was amazing. I had a gluten-free cake at Gervo Abbey.
Yeah.
It was raspberry and almond, and it was warm, and it came with cream, and it was the most delicious thing ever.
Not only the quest for the perfect slice of cake, we did a whole series on a quest for the perfect cup of tea. We've got if we're talking about quests, my sock quest. There's 11 episodes of that, I think. There's 12 episodes of that, and then there's 11 episodes of my first journey to the centre of the yoke. So if you enjoy garment knitting, there's our garment knitting series. Literally, there is something for everyone. And if you want to find out more about how you become a patron of the Bakery Bears and help keep us on air, but access all of that exclusive content, have a read of the above. Follow the link below and you'll find out absolutely everything there is about joining our rather wonderful community. Yeah, and we have it's like our knit night, except it's on a Sunday afternoon, once a month in our live show.
Our pop live show is so much fun.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
And we won't be boiling this time as well, touch wood.
Well, yeah, definitely touch wood.
Now I've said it, haven't I? Now I've said it.
Seems as though we've had the back end of a tropical storm.
I know, we've been keep getting the back end of like loads of tropical storms, and I think, it's been really mild and quite muggy, and we had all that rain yesterday.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping now, that fingers crossed, we might be into some proper chilly autumn weather.
Yes, please. It's time for us to find out. Kay Jones, what's off your needles? You've finished some rather nice looking mittens.
I have. Oh, yes, I have. And Bryony will be thrilled. She's been really patient. Bless her, she's been so patient. I finished these at the weekend just gone. I think it was Sunday. And then I had to wash them. And then they had to dry. And then I said to her, and she's like, oh, can I have them now? I said, oh, darling, we're recording the podcast on Wednesday. So can you wait till Wednesday? And she's like, oh, okay. When I went into her bedroom this morning, she went, it's Wednesday, can I have them? And it just broke my heart, because I said, oh, you've got to wait till you get home from school because we're recording this morning. And she went, oh. I said, oh, I'm so sorry. She's like, it's all right, Mummy, it's all right. I just felt so bad. So yes, she can finally have these when she gets home from school. And it's Bryony's rainbow mitts.
Woohoo!
I finished them. Oh, look how fun they are.
Loving these.
I know, I just kind of winged it with the thumb and just made it up. I'll pop one on. I've got bracelets on, so I'll pop one on the hand. No, it's that one. They just worked out so perfectly.
They're very nice.
Look.
They're gorgeous, in fact.
So these are in honour of Bryony's favourite characters on Glee, and that is Kurt and Blaine. She absolutely loves Kurt and Blaine and was just in tears, literally. She was in tears when they got married. Because, they had that kind of relationship, didn't they? That it's like, oh, we're on, we're off, we're on, we're off. And every time they broke up, she's like, no, she was not happy. And I said, look, I'm sure it's all going to work out okay. I'm sure they'll get back together again. And she's like, they've got to get back together again. They're just, Mum, they're perfect for each other. She was like this. They did obviously get back together, and they are fully together forevermore. So these are her lovely Clane mitts, as she calls them, because it's Kurt and Blaine. She likes to do this, what's it called?
Shipping. Look, don't even waste your time in considering what that is.
I still don't really know what it is. It just perfectly worked out that I could use all of the colours and then finish it off with the same pinky red at the top. And then I went back and picked up the thumb, and I made sure that I changed colour at the same point, and then changed to the purple so that it matches when you look across. And I just did a 1x1 rib on the thumb, because I think a 2x2 on a thumb doesn't quite grip as much, if you like, because it's such a small circumference, and I quite liked having the different 2x2 and 1x1 here. And then the thing that really finishes these off so perfectly for me is the bind off that I used at the top. Can you see it kind of really looks like a long tail cast on? And this bind off is, I call it a long tail bind off because that to me is what it is. It's a sewn bind off, but I just call it a long tail bind off because I just think it mimics the long tail cast on so perfectly. And it's just a great amount of stretch. I think it would be great for socks. And it means for me that I now don't have that worry of the bind off looking messy, when you knit mitts or toe up socks, which I don't really very often. But I think it's just great. I love the detail in it, you know what I'm like, and I just love how that finished it so perfectly. So these yarns I dyed myself, these minis, and there's a set of these minis that will be a prize for our autumn Equisocks knit along.
Cool.
Up here. So that'll be a prize when that knit along ends. But yeah, I'm just super pleased with them. I used a stitch pattern from my Jemima socks, but just modified it slightly to get these really clean divides between the colours.
Lovely.
And they fit her perfectly. She has tried them on. So she can have them now, and I'm really thrilled that I can give them to her.
Yeah.
And I said, are you going to wear them for school? Because it's still a bit warm. And she said, I don't care, I'm wearing them. So good for you. She's very strong-minded, isn't she? And
yeah, I don't know where she gets that from.
Well, I can't imagine. A form teacher said to us the last time that one of the great qualities about it is that if she, she won't be swayed. If she believes in something and if she wants to do something, she won't let her peers sway her.
That's good.
And I think and he said that's a great thing because children of this age are very easily influenced, aren't they?
Yeah.
And I think it's a great trait to have in that
Absolutely.
If you know something is right or wrong, then you stick by that path and you don't let other people influence you.
Absolutely.
So, we encourage that. All finished. Oh, gosh. And then So this is the pink sugar. It's a hat, and this is the 5th design in the Swish and Flick collective. We took some lovely photos in the woods back in April, I think it was, and it was just a perfect sort of leafless branches and things like that. It was just a perfect sort of backdrop. So this is a lovely fingering weight hat. It's got these, as you can see, some diamond motifs, and in the middle of each diamond you can see there's a lovely bead. So the beads are optional, you don't have to do it, but it's really simple, and I have included a video tutorial on how to do that using a crochet hook, which is the method I just find the simplest and least sort of fussy method. I just find it really easy. And I based the design, sort of the inspiration for the design on, do you know, well, a couple of things really. The name Pink Sugar comes from, in the film, it's Dolores Umbridge obviously is the inspiration. I should have said that. I think you probably all guessed with the colour of it and the name of it. But it's Dolores Umbridge, and in one of the scenes she's having a lovely cup of tea in her office, and she takes some sugar from a bowl, and the sugar is pink. So that's where I got the name from. And then the diamond and garter stitch, again, I got from the film. In one of the scenes she has on the most beautiful cardigan. It's an all over diamond lace cardigan, and the button bands are garter. So again, that's where I got that inspiration from, and I just played around with kind of diamond lace motifs until I got something that I was happy with. I did 2 sizes. This is the medium large, and then I did a small as well. So it ranges from, you know, up to large sort of adult, and then the small I would say will fit from, you know, a young child, probably 10 upwards, you know, teenager, that sort of age. I know one of my test knitters knit it for her granddaughter, and she was about sort of 10, 12, and she said it fit perfectly. And I used some of my yarn for this. I just wanted to find that perfect pink, and this is the sort of shade of pink I wanted, and it just happened to be one of mine, and I called this one Perfect Pink Socks. I think it's perfect for this time of year when it's not freezing cold yet, but you might just need that little bit of something to keep your head warm. And I did a mohair pom-pom. So this is just Kid Silk Haze, and the colour that I used, I think it was Grace. The colours in the pattern that I used, and I just think it is perfect. Mohair pom-poms to me are just the best pom-poms.
Absolutely.
They just look, it looks like you've bought it, but you haven't, you've made it. And I don't buy pom-poms at all, because most of them are kind of plastic, aren't they? And I think you can just make your own so easily now. And
the pom-pom forms an integral part to the story, which is included with the pattern.
So Clementine's story continues in the pattern, and it's just fantastic. Thank you so much.
You get to meet her knitology teacher.
Yes, and she's got a brilliant name. It was the most perfect name for a knitology teacher, so hopefully a lot of you will have read that by now.
And for those of you who have read that, it would be interesting to know if you fully get the references within the name.
Yeah.
Because her second name is slightly more cryptic,
yeah,
but also has a huge link to knitting and also your inspiration for that pattern. Yeah.
So it's just been such a fabulous thing to do, this whole Swish and Flick, and you know, we're getting closer to the end now, and next month actually is pattern 6. It's a bigger project. That's all I will say at the moment. Like I said, it's a larger item, but when I realised the time of year that pattern 6 was coming out, you know, we're moving into the colder months, I thought this is just, you know, it's just perfect. I will let you know the yarns that I used for pattern 6, as I have with all the other ones, a week before the pattern launches. So you can go and have a look, and if you want to, you can order yarns, or you can look through your stash, and it's perfectly possible that you might have enough yarn to knit pattern 6 within your stash, especially if you hoard sort of garment quantities. It's not a garment, I'll say that now. Something totally different to what's happened with the collection up to this point, and that's what I really like. You know, I wanted to sort of put this one in as something that might be a bit unexpected.
Cool.
So really excited about that.
Folks, it's time to put our bananas on top of the toffee, cover it in cream, and eat some of it.
Eat it.
As we head back for the final part of season 2, the last episode, the finale of the Bakery Bits Pudding Club.
Welcome back everyone to part 2 of Pudding Club. Now our lovely base and caramel has been chilling in the fridge for about an hour and a half, something like that, and it looks great. So that's all ready now for us to finish it off, to do the topping basically. So we're going to chop up some bananas, we are going to whip some cream, and then we're going to just decorate the top with some chocolate. Okay, so we've got our base out of the fridge and we're now going to put on some bananas. So I've got 3 bananas, but I'm just going to see how many it actually needs. I mean, it depends on how thickly you slice the bananas, obviously, is how many bananas you will ultimately need, but certainly no more than 3. But I'm going to just, well, I'll show you how thick we're going to slice the bananas. But it's up to you, you know, if you want them thicker, go ahead and do them thicker. But I'm going to go with about that. What's that? 1/2 inch, is it? I reckon that's about 1/2 inch. And then we're going to arrange them nicely on top of the caramel. Is it caramel or is it toffee? I'm guessing it's more toffee because that's why it's called banoffee, banana and toffee. So I'm going to start at the edge and just work my way around. And it's lovely and firm. You can see how the bananas are just sitting on there without a problem. Bananas are one of those things, aren't they, that people either love them or really are not bothered. I really like them, Bryony really likes them. Dan's not massively keen, he doesn't mind them. And certainly in this, he's very keen to eat them. So that's 1 banana. So I'm going to use this one next because this is a nice big one. So let's see how far we get with this one. And these ones are organic bananas, but whatever you want to buy is obviously fine. And again, this is another thing that children would love to do. You know, they'd love to help you with this, I'm sure. Arranging the bananas on top. And then we keep going and, oh, look, is that space? Oh, do you know what? I'm going to cut a tiny bit to fit in that gap. Because we can't have that gap, can we? There we go. And then just move to the next sort of circle and work your way around there. Now, what we're going to do about this, I think I'm going to cut. And actually, I've used 2 bananas, but one of them was really big. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so now we're going to whip the cream. So we've got 300 mils of cream, of double cream, which happens to be this entire tub. So that's convenient. So we're just going to pour it all in. Make sure you get it all out. And we're just going to whip it to that kind of soft peak stage. Don't over whip it. You know, you really do. Cream is one of those things that once you get to that point, if you go beyond it, it very quickly becomes over whipped and very claggy and almost sort of butter-like. So just to the soft peak stage. So there we go, you can see it's just at that soft stage. There's still a tiny bit of movement in it, and that's perfect. So now we're ready to put the cream on top of the bananas. Now, you can put this into a piping bag if you want to be really posh. I'm not really posh, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to spoon it on in a kind of free-form style, if you like. You can actually smooth the whole surface if you want and make it completely flat if that's what you want. But I'm just going to go round the outside and just put sort of blobs, because I kind of like that free form. And at the end of the day, this is a homemade thing, and I like something to look like it's homemade. It's going to look like a kind of snowy field. Make sure you go all to the edges, because we've got that cling film there, so it's not going to stick to the tin. And I just, you know, can you see how I've just kind of roughed it up? It looks a bit like that old-fashioned sort of Christmas cake, doesn't it? But if you want to smooth it off or pipe it or however you want to do it, entirely up to you. And now it's just time for the finishing touch, really. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to break up a flake. and sprinkle that all over. If you prefer, you could just dust it with some cocoa powder, or you could melt a little bit of dark chocolate maybe and then just drizzle it all over. Entirely up to you. But this again it's kind of fun for me doing this and breaking up a flake. And again, children will love this bit. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to sort of pile it all in the middle, because there's a couple of reasons actually. One is because I think it'll look pretty, but mainly because I can't eat chocolate, so if I do it that way, it means there'll be plenty of the area that won't have chocolate on. Oh, flakes are great, aren't they? Do you remember the flake advert from the, gosh, what was it, the 80s or 70s? I forget now. And I'm just going to kind of pile it in the middle, look like logs. But if you wanted to scatter this all over, then obviously by all means do so. There we go, I think that's enough actually. Okay, so that's it finished. All you need to do now is just pop it back in the fridge for another chill, just because, you know, to make sure those bananas are chilled and that cream is properly nice and chilled. So about 15-20 minutes, and then we're gonna take it back out of the fridge, cut a lovely slice and try it. Okay, I'm ready to taste it. I'm so excited. I don't think I've ever tasted a homemade version of Banoffee Pie, not in many, many years anyway. So I'm extremely excited. Oh, it looks so delicious. Are you ready? No. Oh my goodness. Gosh, wait till Dan tastes this. That toffee, it's not a sauce because it's more set, but the toffee filling, let's say, is amazing. And actually, Dan said, oh, you could put a bit of sea salt in it and make it like a salted caramel, and you certainly could try that. I'd go steady with the salt, but I bet it's delicious. It's amazing. The base is lovely and crunchy. The toffee is just, oh, sweet and rich and yummy. And then you've got the banana and the cream. It's fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And just a brilliant way to end this season's Pudding Club. Because yes, this was the last episode for this year. We will, of course, be back in March next year, 2020, with a brand new series of Pudding Club. However, we've got a special little something coming your way in the first episode of the new year. So a very special Pudding Club will be in that episode. Ooh, just to kick off the new year. So until then, enjoy making all of the desserts and puddings that we've had this year. Definitely make the Banoffee Pie because it is yummy. I'm going to go away in a darkened room now to finish this by myself. So thank you all so much for watching this series of Pudding Club, and I will see you back in January for a Pudding Club special.
Oh my goodness, how exciting! Yes, Pudding Club may have finished, but for the first time ever, because we can't wait till March for the next season to start, we're bringing you a New Year's special. Do not miss it. It's going to be completely phenomenal. And you know, what a wonderful way to finish the season, to know that our very first show of 2020 will be a standalone one-off, super duper, not to put too much pressure on. Oh my goodness. Pudding Club New Year special. Bring it on, baby. Wow. But what a pudding we've finished this season with. And I've got to say, so nice. This season has had many highs. The coconut cake for one. Yeah. And that would be the cake which I could eat probably every other day. But it would get boring.
Yeah, I'm making it for your birthday.
You are indeed, but that's a sort of more everyday cake. This is a once in a blue moon, need a lie down afterwards.
It's very much a treat pudding, this, but brilliant, you know, if you've got friends coming round, or, you know,
look, if you just need to put a smile on your face, just go and make this.
Or, you know, exactly.
Perfect.
Go and make it, cut yourself a slice and sit down and just enjoy it.
Absolutely. It's delicious. And the gold edition, if you want to see how many takes it took Kay to say, I'll see you back in January for a Pudding Club special, then go and watch the gold edition now.
It was ridiculous.
It was indeed ridiculous.
I'd lost the ability to speak.
It's like the Dennis Norden... Oh, what was it called? I remember the one... It'll Be Alright in the Night.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember that.
That was kind of like a precursor to all of the silly programmes that you and Bryony like watching.
It is, but it was films and it was TV and it was great. I love that one with the newsreader. Cold, wet... Totally sick, do you remember?
I do remember that.
It's just so brilliant.
They were telling you the weather and it was just like, it was really miserable about it. It was hilarious.
And of course, as the season has finished, the vote is now open. So we would love to know, last year you voted Millionaire Shortbread as your favourite, and we would love to know this year what has been your favourite of all the puddings. So we'll open that vote now. You follow the link in the show notes below. You can head over, you can vote for your favourite, and then maybe on the special... we'll announce. So we'll give it a nice good chunk of time for people to vote, and then on the special first show in January, we'll let you know. Be fun to find out. It's time for the Endy Bits.
Endy Bits.
Now then.
Wowzers. Right, so...
Next Swish and Flick pattern will be out soon.
Yes, I even wrote it down.
Oh, go,
You'll be impressed with me. Right, where is it?
Oh, I'm super impressed.
No. Look.
Slick.
The next pattern for the Swish and Flick is out on the 18th of October.
Excellent.
So not even that long, really, is it?
No.
3 weeks, something like that.
Very exciting.
Yay.
And as we're talking about Swish and Flick, should we do? Yes.
Should we do that?
Yes.
So it's time for some more prizes for the Swish and Flick.
So I shall hold and you can award.
Right, so first of all, lovely Sasha has been back at the sewing machine and she's made us some more bags. So unbelievable. Now, she's used the same fabric as you can see mine up here, the drawstring, but this time they're zipper bags. So she sent me, look at the size of these bags. So I've got 2 in the red print, the Marauders matte, and I've got 2 in the newspaper print. Just fantastic. And of course she said I could have one, so I kept one of the black ones.
So I'll hold up each one as you say who's won it.
So let's give away a red one this time.
Cool.
So Sasha, thank you so much. You know you're amazing.
Who's won it?
Right, so here we go. So the bag, so the numbers, the entry numbers this time are from 2,468 to 3,128. Just amazing. I don't think we've ever had numbers this high before. So the bag, the winner for that was number 3080, and that's Susan. And Susan is in Nova Scotia.
I'm going to put myself in this bag and mail myself to you.
No, Nova Scotia. And it's funny because I was watching a repeat of The Railway Man, Michael Portillo, and his Canadian journeys just yesterday, and he was in Nova Scotia.
Where?
He was in Halifax.
Cool.
Which sounds funny to us because it was not like the Halifax in the UK.
No.
And it just looked beautiful. So Susan in Nova Scotia, she is Suzank on Ravelry. That bag is yours.
Excellent.
So get in touch with me, give me your full name, address, and I will get that winging its way across the ocean to you.
Cool. And is this the yarn that's been also won?
Yes.
In this? Excellent, excellent. And I like the name of the person who's won it.
The yarn is the same colour that I was knitting into the socks that I showed you earlier. This is Grimold Place that I dyed up, and it's just these lovely autumn shades. It's just gorgeous. Oh, lovely. So the winner of the yarn was number 2901, and that's Batfink. And Batfink, that's on Ravelry, it's her name on Ravelry. She is Heather, and Heather is in Scotland.
Excellent. And are you called Batfink because of the TV show?
Was there a TV show called Batfink?
Yeah, there was.
Was there really?
Yeah, it's cool.
Was it like a cartoon?
When I was really young. It was a cartoon thing.
What type of cartoon was it?
It was like a bat that was like a superhero, as I recall it.
So Heather, Yay! If you contact me again, full name, address, and I will get that yarn winging its way up to Scotland. So we've got Nova Scotia and we've got Scotland this time.
Wonderful.
Absolutely fantastic. So thank you everybody that's contributing to that knit along. It's just fantastic. Really wonderful.
The Great Pyramid Cal continues. Please, 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 runners and walkers, keep pushing because it's getting colder now. We've got to keep that pace up so we get back to the Great Pyramid of Khufu in time for that amazing party that we're going to have on New Year's Eve.
I almost started going on about the pyramids. I won't.
No. You are saving that for the next episode. And we're not just talking... It's not focused specifically on the pyramids. Because we've done that. On the next episode, the Baker Bears Radio Show will be out on Friday. So next Friday. And we're talking about, was Atlantis real? And that is our gateway to speak about some of the amazing archaeological sites all across the world.
Some of these kind of mysterious...
Yes. Discussing the potential existence of a race, a superior race that came before, which I am the last remaining.
You're so funny.
Yes,
it'll be an interesting conversation because we've had interesting conversations already about it, haven't we?
Yeah.
So it'll be a really interesting conversation, and
don't miss it.
Good one.
Seriously, I've been finding out some things actually that have blown my mind. Things I knew nothing about. Which is just tremendous. You know, the world is a tremendous, amazing place. When you just scratch the surface a little bit, the stuff you find out is phenomenal.
It is.
Wow.
It is.
Can't wait.
Really
So
makes
that's
you think.
episode 6 of the Baker Bears Radio Show coming next Friday.
Yeah. We've also got the Miss Potter 2 knit along ongoing at the moment. There's a thread on Ravelry, there's a chatter thread and an FO thread. So if you are knitting the Mrs. Tiggy socks, then please go over to that thread and join in and show us what yarns you're using. Quite a lot of people have finished the socks already in some gorgeous yarns. It's been so lovely to see all the beautiful yarns that you've chosen. So again, the next pattern for the Miss Potter will be out on the 4th of October. So not long at all really to wait for that one.
That's good.
I'm really excited to show you the second pattern. So that knit along is also ongoing. And then the kind of final...
Have you not mentioned the autumn equisocks?
No, that's what I was going to say.
Excellent.
Yeah, the final...
Was that you were rising up?
I know.
Yes.
Because we've just started this one, haven't we? The autumn equisocks knit along. So this is a sock knit along. We would love it if they are autumn themed, but they don't have to be. Absolutely don't have to be. It's just really a way of getting those socks finished that you might have on the needles already, because whips are allowed as long as you weren't more than half finished, then that's absolutely fine. And it's, I think it's just the perfect time of year to knit socks. And I think it was all part of the thinking about what I really enjoy that sort of made me want to do this as well, because I really love knitting socks, and I've knit a lot of socks and I've designed a lot of socks this year. And no matter how many socks I knit and no matter how many I design, it just makes me want to do more. I just absolutely love the whole business of creating socks and creating sock designs. So please come and join in if you've got socks on the needles and you want to enter into that. We will have some prizes. I showed you some of them last time.
Yeah.
So again, there's a thread on Ravelry for that. I have marked all of my current sock designs that are available on Ravelry now all have a 15% discount. You don't need a code, it will just automatically apply that discount upon checkout. So I currently have 9 sock designs, but during the course of the next couple of months I've got 3 more that will be released on the 4th of November, and that will be the 3 from the second Miss Potter Club. And then on the 2nd of December there'll actually be 5 sock designs that will be released on that day, connected to the Swish and Flick. And all of those, when I release them, I will mark those with the 15% discount as well until the 22nd of December, which is when the knit along finishes. So that's really exciting that all of those patterns are to come.
Yeah.
And I've just bought a couple of things. So I mentioned I bought another colour of the Filcolana, and I've got this grey, which again I think is lovely. And this is another one of the heathered ones. This is 812 is this colour. And I think this will make a fantastic hat. And I intend on making another one of those hats with it, because I think it will just make the perfect neutral coloured hat Really, really lovely stuff. So I can't wait to get the first one done and get, the second one on the needles.
And if anyone knows anyone called Phil Kalana, I want to see a picture of him.
And then I picked up, Eden Cottage had an update recently, and she updated some of her Pendle Chunky. Now that's the yarn that I used to knit my moon dust cowl, if you remember, cowl scarf thing, you know the one that I mean. She showed a particular colourway on Instagram, and I was, oh my goodness, I thought I'm going to have to get that to make another one, because I do want to make another one. Look at this colour.
Beautiful.
Isn't that just the most fantastic colour?
Yeah.
It's called Marigold, and it's Pendle Chunky, and you need 2 skeins to knit the moon dust. Oh my goodness, I just could not believe how rich and and I think this colour will be okay on me, won't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just fantastic. So I will be knitting another one of those in the next sort of month or so, and I'll obviously show you when I get that cast on. But this yarn is gorgeous. I've knit with it already, and it's beautifully soft, 100% superwash, super fine merino, and you get 109 yards for 100 grams. It's gorgeous stuff. I highly recommend it if you want a little treat. And then the last thing that I picked up was just some minis. I've been wanting variegated minis just lately. I've got quite a lot of minis that are sort of solids, but not too many that are variegated. So I thought I'd look in Hedgerow Yarns, because she always has, it's Jane, isn't it? She always has some lovely minis. And I found this cute little set, which are just 10 gram minis. So you've just got 50 grams altogether. But it's perfect for, scrappy projects, blankets and, such, and socks and things. And so that's from Hedgerow Yarns. Just lovely. And I haven't even opened them yet, because I thought, I'm saving those as a little treat. And the very final thing I bought was a skein of yarn from Stranded Dye Works. Amy showed this colour recently, and I thought it would be just perfect for a sock design at some point. And it's a patisserie colour. So it's just a creamy yarn with these little speckles in it every now and again. Just perfect for maybe a lace pattern. And I just thought it was gorgeous, so lovely.
So thank you so much for watching. We will be back actually on Sunday with the next Patron Only Show. So please come and join us. You can either join us live at 2 p.m. BST, or the show will then be available for you to watch anytime you like. So please don't forget to come and join us for our Patron Only Show on Sunday. We'll be talking about Downton Abbey, the film which we saw. We'll be talking about our visit to Ask Hall, which was absolutely phenomenal. Yes. And we'll also be telling you about the absolute worst peppermint tea we've ever tasted in our life, that makes all the other teas which we said were rubbish taste great. So there are some positives to pull from this awful peppermint tea. Don't miss it. We'll be naming and shaming the company who makes it, because it's appalling that they charge so much for their awful product. Yeah. Can't wait for that show. So thank you so much for watching. We will of course see you next Friday for Bakery Bears Radio Show episode 6, and we'll see you the week after that, in 2 weeks from today, with episode 135 and the finale of this season. Oh, yeah. New Adventures. Yes. Wow. Oh, yes. So don't miss that. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you soon. Thanks, everyone. See you soon. Bye. Bye. Sitting and knitting, standing the bakery prayers. Enthusiasm's not quitting, and the bakery prayers. They'll take you to fabulous places, of which their favorites they'll share. You better buy a pattern, get yourself a bakery bear. You'll find yourself in a castle while watching the bakery bears. It never feels like a hassle to sit and watch the bakery bears. What's on your shelf?